It is 3:02 in the morning. You are in the kitchen, barefoot on cold tile, watching the kettle just start to whisper. The house is dark except for the rectangle of the stove clock and the weak light over the sink. You are thinking about nothing dramatic, an email you forgot to send, the early meeting, whether you should go back to bed. Your phone is face down on the counter. The sound it makes is wrong, not the usual single buzz. A hard, drilling siren from a speaker that never sounds like this. The screen floods white. An emergency alert blocker text you don't fully read before your body goes cold. The word missile is there. The words, "This is not a test." For half a second, you freeze. Your first thought is that it has to be a mistake. False alarm, software glitch. Your second thought is the flash you once saw in a documentary, and the instructor's voice saying, "If you get an alert, assume it's real. Move." The kettle rattles as the heating element cycles off. Somewhere outside, a distant siren starts, then another. The neighborhood is still mostly asleep. You hear one car engine rev, a dog bark, silence land again. This is the moment when people waste time arguing with reality. You do not have that luxury. You put your hand on the counter to steady it. You breathe in once, slowly. You are going to survive this by what you do in the next few minutes. The alert tone is still echoing in your ears when you tap the screen again, forcing yourself to read the full message. Your thumb wants to scroll social media, to look for confirmation. You don't. You read the 3 critical words. Take shelter immediately. Your first survival action is not physical. It is a decision. Assume this is real. This is how you buy yourself time. You glance at the stove clock again, 3:03. In your mind, wait, breathe. You name what's happening, shock. You let it wash over you for a full breath and then you move. You picture the layout of your home. External walls, windows, the thin front door. You know from something you read once that the safest place in a nuclear incident is an interior space in a sturdy building, away from windows and exterior walls, ideally below ground or in the middle of the structure. Time, distance, shielding. You quietly say it out loud like a checklist. You walk down the hallway, heart hammering, and mentally tag possible shelters, the bathroom with no window, the interior closet, the center hallway. You put your hand on the bedroom doorframe to steady it. The wood feels solid, familiar. That contact keeps your mind from spinning off. This is when panic tries to take over. You push it back by choosing. By the end of these first 5 minutes, you have made your first critical choice. You will shelter in place inside this building, not get in the car, not try to outrun something you cannot outrun. In the next 10 minutes, you will turn one ordinary room into the barrier that keeps fallout out of your lungs and off your skin. By the time the clock shows 3:10, you have moved from confusion into action. You are in the hallway now, light off, feeling along the wall for the bathroom switch, not because you need light, your eyes are adjusting, but because doing something anchors you. You pick your shelter room, small interior bathroom, no windows, 2 walls shared with other rooms, plumbing and studs adding mass. You remember that for fallout, the priority is not seeing outside, it is putting thick, dense material between you and the radioactive dust that will fall after the blast. You grab a couple of towels from the hallway closet on the way in and a roll of tape from the junk drawer. Towels feel rough against your fingers, the tape is smooth, plasticky. Sensory details keep you here instead of in imagined fireballs. Action first, imagination later. You wedge the towels along the bottom of the bathroom door and tape them roughly into place. This is not about airtight perfection. It's about reducing how much outside air can pour in if the house later becomes contaminated with fallout dust. Emotion pushes, call someone, check the news, look outside. You acknowledge the urge. You tell yourself you will check in once you are behind more walls. This is how you manage panic. You don't argue with it, you schedule it. This is shelter building, not fort building. Every minute inside a better room is less dose later. You have a room. Now you have to feed it with water, food, light, and information before the outside world becomes too dangerous to cross. At around 3:15, the house is still intact. No flash yet, no shockwave. That absence feels surreal, as if the alert must be false. This is one of the most dangerous mental moments, the urge to downgrade the threat because your senses haven't caught up. You use the gap like a professional. Modeling suggests that if you are far enough from the detonation to survive the immediate blast, you are likely to have 10 minutes or more before significant fallout reaches your area. That window is for upgrading shelter, not for driving away. You move quickly through the house with a basket, keeping your body low and away from windows. You grab bottles and jugs of water from the kitchen, non-perishable food within easy reach, a small first aid kit, a flashlight and batteries, your battery radio, and your phone charger. With each item you say the reason, half out loud: water, so I don't have to open the door; food, I can eat without cooking; light, that doesn't need the grid; radio, because the internet may go down. Naming reasons turns frantic movement into deliberate preparation. You glance once at the phone, you send a single text: sheltering in bathroom, interior, water, supplies, love you, to your closest person. And you put the phone in your pocket, face down, and force yourself not to watch the typing dots. This message isn't a conversation. It's a record in case networks die. You haul everything into the bathroom, set the water against the interior wall, sit on the closed toilet lid, and let yourself feel your own breathing. The outside threat is about to become visible. Your next job is to ride out the first blast of uncertainty without opening that door. Sometime between 3:20 and 3:30, the world changes. Maybe you see a distant flash through the crack under the door. Maybe you hear a low, rolling thunder that is not weather. Maybe the house shudders as a pressure wave passes, rattling dishes and picture frames. You are already on the floor of the bathroom, back against the tub, arms over your head. Not because the shock wave will reach with full force this far out, you hope it won't, but because you don't know yet. Drop, cover, and hold works for blast as well as earthquakes. It's an automatic drill you use to keep your body from running to the window. The sound passes, dust settles from the ceiling. You hold your position for 10 slow breaths, counting each one in and each one out, longer on the exhale. This is a basic grounding technique. Long exhale tells your nervous system you are not actively being attacked anymore. Then you sit up, still staying away from the door. The house may have cosmetic damage unless there is fire, structural collapse, or gas smell. Your best move is to stay inside this building, in this interior room. Going out to inspect exposes you to falling glass and soon radioactive particles. You turn off any fans or air conditioners that pull outside air in if you can reach their controls safely from inside your shelter room or by a quick dash. You close interior vents if possible. Every choice is about reducing how much outdoor air and the fallout in it can wander in. This is the pivot from movement to containment. Fallout will begin arriving within minutes to an hour. Your next decisions are about skin, clothing, and the invisible dust you don't want to carry inside with you. By around 3:40, fallout has started to descend closer to ground level somewhere downwind of the blast. You can't see it yet where you are, and you don't need to. You act as if it is coming. If you were outside at all between the alert and sheltering, you treat your clothing as contaminated. Guidance in radiation emergencies is clear. Remove outer clothing to get rid of most external contamination and, if possible, shower or wash exposed skin promptly. In the small bathroom, this feels uncomfortably intimate. You pull your shirt over your head, step out of your pants, trying not to shake them. You place them gently into a trash bag, tie it off, and set it in the farthest corner from where you'll sit. You tell yourself, this is not panic, this is housekeeping. If the water is still running and you judge pipes likely intact, you take a quick, lukewarm rinse, no harsh scrubbing that could break skin, focusing on hair, face, hands. You avoid conditioner or oily products because they can trap particles. If water is out or you want to conserve it, you use damp cloths instead, wiping exposed skin with slow, deliberate motions. Psychologically, this is hard. Getting undressed in a crisis feels like vulnerability, not protection. You name that feeling. You remind yourself every speck of dust you rinse away is radiation you will not carry for hours. External contamination is not instantly lethal. Time, distance, and shielding still work. This is dignity. You are caring for your body so it can keep carrying you. Once your skin is as clean as you can get it, your next task is building routines that will keep your mind from tearing itself apart in a small room. By about 4 o'clock, you have been in crisis mode for nearly an hour. Adrenaline would like you to pace, refresh your phone, imagine worst-case scenarios. That is how you burn through energy and sanity. You do something else. You check the time deliberately, like a pilot checking an instrument. You write 040 sheltered, supplies here, on a scrap of paper or the back of an envelope. You tape it to the tile wall or place it where you can see it. This becomes your first status mark, a physical anchor for time. You mentally divide the next 2 hours into simple blocks. 10 minutes, inventory supplies. 10 minutes, simple, breathing and stretching. 10 minutes, quick, quiet information check. You loop this pattern. You count water bottles, making a simple rule. For now, no more than 1 cup every few hours unless you are truly thirsty. Civil defense guidance suggests you may need to remain inside at least 24 hours to avoid the worst fallout. More is better if outside conditions remain uncertain. Rationing early makes later hours less frightening. You stretch your neck, roll your shoulders, flex your knees. The bathroom floor is cold against your feet. You note that temperature on purpose. Feeling your body supports your mind. You check your phone once, emergency notifications, maybe a news alert, maybe nothing. You resist the scroll. You are not here to spectate the disaster. You are here to outlast the dangerous period. As dawn approaches, power and networks may fail. You will need a plan for information and for what to do when information stops. Around 5 or 6 in the morning, power may flicker or go out entirely. The house hum vanishes. The fan above you stops with a soft click. The darkness in the bathroom deepens until the small battery light is the only glow. The absence of sound is first. No refrigerator hum, no distant traffic. Maybe occasionally a siren or distant rumble. The silence feels heavy, as if the air itself is waiting. You switch fully to battery-powered tools, flashlight on low beam, radio on its lowest usable volume. You turn the radio dial slowly, listening for any local station pushing through static. Many preparedness plans assume official messages will advise people to stay inside, stay tuned, and wait at least a day before leaving shelter, unless their building is compromised. Psychologically, this is another pivot point. Without constant feeds, your brain wants to fill in the blanks with catastrophe. You counter that by narrating your reality in short, factual phrases. Walls intact. Door sealed. Water here. Breathing steady. This is not denial, it is anchoring. At some point you hear movement in the hallway. A neighbor perhaps, or someone in your own home who did not take this as seriously at first. You talk quietly through the door, explaining where you are, what room is safest, how to get there while staying away from windows. You do not open the door fully. Keeping that barrier intact protects both of you from contaminated air later. This is a moral strain, choosing distance over comforting contact, and you acknowledge that weight. You are not abandoning anyone, you are modeling what survival looks like. As the outside world settles into its own chaos, your mission becomes narrower. Stay in place, manage the hours, and keep fear from kicking the door open. By mid-morning, maybe 9 or 10, you have been in the bathroom for several hours. The air is warmer now, the flashlight has a slightly dimmer edge, your phone battery is lower than you want despite your discipline. This stretch is where many people break their own safety. Radiation levels from fallout are highest in the first hours after it lands and then decline quickly. Staying sheltered during this period can prevent most external exposure. The rules are simple, living them is not. You mark time again on your scrap of paper. Nunch still sheltering. The act of writing steadies your hand. You take a very small drink of water, swishing it before swallowing, feeling the coolness on your tongue. You eat something compact, a granola bar, nuts, crackers, paying attention to the texture instead of doom scenarios. Your mind keeps proposing small rebellions. Just crack the door, just check the window, just see what happened. You answer each with the same line, later, when it is safer, not now. You picture radiation like invisible sunlight that happens to be strongest in these first hours. You would not go sunbathing at noon during a heat wave. You do another set of breathing, 3 counts in, 4 counts out, 10 times. You silently name 3 things you can feel: cold tile, rough towel, smooth plastic bottle. 3 things you can hear: distant siren, faint static, your own breath. 3 things you can see: beam of the flashlight, shadow of the towel, writing on the paper. This is a classic grounding exercise used in crisis psychology. This is not wasted time. Every minute you stay in here, the outside becomes less lethal. Eventually, someone will knock harder, or your own certainty will wobble. You need a plan for pressure from the outside and from your own guilt. By early afternoon, maybe around 1 or 2, fatigue and strain converge. Your muscles ache from the floor. Your back protests. Your thoughts slide toward people you care about who are not in this room. Then there is a knock. Not the tentative one from earlier, a more urgent pounding on your front door, or a neighbor calling your name louder in the hallway. The sound cuts through the silence and lands in your stomach. You freeze. Help them. Stay put. Help them. Stay put. You know the civil defense logic. Opening exterior doors in the hours after fallout begins to settle can draw contaminated air and dust into what was a relatively clean interior. You also know that multiple exposures for multiple people are worse than one person staying outside. Time, distance, and shielding apply to everyone. You call out, voice steady as you can make it, directing them to find their own interior room, to avoid windows, to grab water and get low. You share what you know in short, clear phrases. You do not open the bathroom door to step into the hallway unless there is an immediate life threat, fire, collapse. This choice costs you emotionally, and you admit that. Inside, you feel guilt like a weight on your chest. You name it, you let a few tears fall if they come, and then you bring yourself back. If I open the door, I may make both of us less safe. Survival under nuclear fallout is not about heroics. It is about reducing how much radioactive dust your body has to absorb while it is most hot. This is the hardest kind of courage, the invisible kind that looks like staying still. As evening approaches, your body will demand rest. You will have to negotiate with it without breaking your protective routine. As the light outside fades, you sense it more than see it. In the way the thin line under the door shifts, your body insists that it is time to sleep. You check your paper. Perhaps it says 18, still sheltering. 12 to 15 hours inside a small room feels like days. Radiation outside is already a fraction of what it was in the first hours, but still higher than you want. Many models suggest the first 24 hours are the critical shield time for most of the fallout dose. You remind yourself of that not as a statistic, but as motivation. Each hour completed is a large piece of danger already behind you. You set a simple night routine. If you are with someone, you agree on a rotation. One person lightly awake with the radio on low for an hour, others try to rest, then switch. If you are alone, you allow yourself short naps. Set an alarm on your phone for 45 minutes. Recline on folded towels, let your muscles relax, knowing you will wake to check the situation again. You loosen your jaw, unclench your fists. You tell yourself, now is the time for repair. Sleep is not surrender in this context. It is maintenance. Before closing your eyes, you run one more mental checklist. No smell of smoke, no creaks suggesting imminent collapse, no water seeping under the door. Radio still static, or repeating the same shelter-in-place guidance. You've done what you can for this cycle. Now you let your body recharge. That too is survival work. At some point in the small hours, you will wake to a different kind of silence. One where the external crisis is still real, but your interior state has shifted. Sometime around 22 or 23 hours after the blast, maybe just after 3 in the morning, again, you wake. The bathroom is the same. Closed door, rough towel in the gap, dim beam of the flashlight. Nothing has changed, and yet you feel different. You check your time mark paper. You add a new line, so 3 south, approximately 24 hours sheltered. The act of writing this has weight. You have actually done it. 1 full day in a protective bubble, while the outside took the worst. Radiation levels, though still present, are dramatically lower now than in the first 6 hours. Your fear is still there, but it has edges now instead of being a fog. You realize that the routines, rationing water, marking time, breathing exercises, have stitched themselves into a kind of discipline. You glance at the door handle. The impulse to grab it has weakened. Touching it now is different. Less escape, more controlled check. You turn the radio dial again. This time, beneath the static, you catch clearer phrases. Authorities, assessing damage, remain sheltered unless. It is not yet a full picture, but it is a sign that systems survive. You let yourself imagine the next steps without rushing into them. There will be instructions, stay put longer or evacuate certain zones when safe, likely in a controlled, informed way to minimize any remaining exposure. Your job now is to be ready to hear, not to improvise. This is the beginning of acceptance, not that this is okay, but that you can live inside it. As dawn light filters faintly under the door, you will face a new kind of decision, how to re-engage with a damaged outside without undoing the protection you earned. By the time a grey suggestion of daylight glows under the door, your radio finally carries a full local broadcast. The voice is flat, professional, tired. It confirms what you already suspected: a missile strike, multiple detonations, damage zones. It repeats the mantra: if you are in a safe building, stay inside for at least 24 hours from the time of the detonation, or until officials say otherwise. You check your time marks. You are at that threshold now. That does not mean you sprint outside. means you can begin thinking about informed movement if directed, short, purposeful trips to a better shelter, a community aid point, or a medical facility. Timed when residual radiation has dropped further. You listen carefully to any zone-based instructions. Which areas are highest risk, which routes are open, whether water from the tap is safe. You write down key points because memory under stress is unreliable. Pen scratching on paper becomes another anchor. The act of writing connects you to something normal, note-taking, list-making, the small bureaucracy of staying organized. Psychologically, this is a moment of temptation. You feel relief that you made it, and part of you wants to reward that by breaking all the rules, long showers, big meals, stepping outside to really see. You recognize that impulse as another version of panic, just in the opposite direction. The crisis brain wants resolution, wants to declare victory, wants to return to normal by force. You survived the hardest part by being conservative. The same strategy will serve you now. You adjust your rationing, maybe a little more water, a slightly larger portion of food. You stretch, and for the first time you allow yourself to talk softly with anyone sharing the room about what you'll do later today, not as speculation, but as planning. The conversation feels strange after so many hours of silence and brief instructions. Words come slowly, carefully, as if you are both relearning how to speak about the future. The radio voice continues, giving coordinates, giving warnings, giving reassurance in measured tones. You listen without grasping at every word. You have learned, in these hours, how to take in information without drowning in it. You have learned that not every piece of news requires immediate action. Some news is just news. Some waiting is just waiting. Before you open any door, even now, you will take one more look at your environment and at yourself through the lens of what actually kept you alive. Mid-morning, you crack the bathroom door for the first time in a controlled way. You do it slowly, listening, feeling for any draft. The hallway smells faintly of dust and something metallic, but there is no smoke, no obvious structural damage. The air feels different, not dangerous, just changed, as if the house itself has been holding its breath. You do not rush to the nearest window. You move methodically, check for broken glass underfoot, for sagging ceilings, for any obvious hazards. You keep your time near exterior walls, brief. Distance and shielding still matter. There is no need to stand in unfiltered sunlight or lean against outer walls longer than necessary. The habits you built in the bathroom extend into the hallway, into the kitchen, into every step you take. The house is quieter than you have ever heard it. No hum of appliances, no background traffic. The silence has texture now, not the heavy waiting of the first hours, but something thinner, like the world catching its breath. You notice details you never noticed before. The grain of the wood floor, the slight tilt of a picture frame, the way dust motes hang in the thin light from the covered windows. Back in the kitchen where the night started, you see the kettle still on the stove, cold now. The counter still holds your phone charger. The stove clock is dark, power never came back. You stand for a moment in the doorway, looking at the ordinary objects that witnessed your ordinary life less than 30 hours ago. On the table, you set one of your water bottles and, with a marker or pen, write on it. Day 1, sheltered. It is a small act, but it captures the truth. This water did not just keep you hydrated, it helped keep you inside. It was part of the system you built, the system of towels and tape and time marks and breathing exercises that added up to survival. Emotion comes in waves now, delayed fear, sadness for what you will learn happened elsewhere, gratitude that feels almost guilty. You let each wave crest and fall without needing to assign it a story, Yet you have time now, not unlimited time, but time you earned. Time you bought with discipline and patience and the willingness to sit in uncertainty without breaking. On the radio, a voice continues to give updates, coordinates of contamination zones, instructions for those who need medical attention, locations of aid stations that will open when movement is safe. You listen and you write down what matters. The pen feels solid in your hand. The paper accepts the marks. These small acts of organization are their own kind of comfort. Outside, the light through any remaining curtains is thin, filtered. You do not pull them back to look. Not yet. The instructions say to limit time near windows, and you have learned to follow instructions that kept you alive this long. There will be time to look later. There will be time to see what happened. For now, you stay in the interior of the house, moving carefully, breathing steadily. You stand for a moment in the doorway of the bathroom and look at the towel still wedged under the door, the paper with your scrawled times, the empty food wrappers, the dent in the folded towels where you tried to sleep. These are the artifacts of your discipline. They do not look heroic, they look ordinary, a bathroom with some garbage and a flashlight. But you know what they mean now. They mean you understood the first rule of survival. Control what you can, accept what you cannot, and do not confuse the two. The kettle sits cold on the stove. You don't remember turning it off. The heating element cycled down on its own in those first seconds after the alert. You look at it for a long moment. 24 hours ago, you were thinking about an email you forgot to send, about an early meeting, about whether you should go back to bed. You were thinking about nothing dramatic. Now the kettle is an artifact too. It marks the exact moment when ordinary life paused, when the whisper of steam gave way to the scream of an alert tone, and you made the first of 100 small decisions that added up to this: standing here, breathing, alive. You pick up the water bottle labeled Day 1, feel its weight in your hand, and set it beside the radio where the static is finally giving way to a clearer human voice. You don't say anything, you just listen. Outside, the siren has stopped. The neighborhood is still. Somewhere, systems are working to restore order, to count damage, to plan what comes next. You will be part of that eventually. For now, you are part of this. A sealed, ordinary kitchen that now knows what it is to be a shelter. The coffee you never made sits as a thought, not a regret. The kettle sits as a marker. The towel under the bathroom door sits as evidence that when the moment came, you chose discipline over panic. You have not solved anything. You have not rescued anyone. You have not done anything that will make the news. You have only done this. You stayed inside. You sealed the gaps. You rationed the water. You marked the time. You breathed through the fear. You waited. And now, in the thin grey light of a morning that almost didn't include you, you are still here. That is what survival looks like. Not the dramatic kind, the quiet kind, the kind that happens in bathrooms and kitchens with towels and tape and bottles of water, while the world outside does whatever it is going to do. You set down the water bottle. You look at the radio. You wait for the next instruction. The kettle is cold. The house is quiet. The light under the door has changed from black to grey. You are ready.